The candles flickered on the massive vanilla cake, their warm glow dancing across the faces of the gathered crowd in my San Francisco backyard. Emily Carter, stood there at 42, feeling a rare spark of contentment. The string lights overhead twinkled like stars against the cool evening fog rolling in from the bay, and the scent of grilled steaks and fresh herbs lingered in the air. I'd poured my heart into this party, my birthday, a milestone I thought might finally bridge the gaps in our fractured family. Laughter bubbled up from the group, mostly my younger brother Alex's friends, their voices mixing with the soft jazz playlist I'd curated. Mom was there, sipping her Chardonnay, and my sister Sarah hovered nearby, her smile tentative. Alex, at 32, sauntered over with that signature grin of his, the one that always hid something sharper. He held out a glossy black envelope, his eyes gleaming with what I mistook for affection. "For you, sis," he said, his voice low and teasing, as if we were kids again sharing secrets. The crowd hushed, phones out, ready to capture the moment. I tore it open, my fingers steady, expecting maybe a voucher for a spa day or a sentimental note acknowledging all I'd done for him over the years. Instead, the words leaped out like a venomous snake. "You're not one of us." Laughter exploded around me, harsh, unrelenting. Alex's best friend Mike doubled over, clutching his sides, while his buddies slapped high fives. Mom let out a nervous titter, her hand flying to her mouth too late to hide it. Sarah shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting away. My cheeks burned, but I forced a brittle smile, staring at those damning words as the candles continued to melt. The humiliation settled in my chest like lead. But beneath it, something else stirred, a quiet rage, building slow and deliberate. They thought this was funny, a harmless jab at the sister who'd held everything together. But as I blew out those flames, wishing not for peace but for reckoning, I knew this night marked the end of my silence. In the years leading up to that moment, our family dynamic had been a carefully balanced house of cards, with me as the reluctant architect. After Dad's death a decade ago from a sudden heart attack, his will left me in charge of the family trust, a multi-million-dollar nest egg from his real estate empire in the Bay Area. Properties in Nob Hill, stocks in tech giants, and a portfolio that generated steady income. I was the eldest, the responsible one, with my career as a financial analyst keeping me grounded in spreadsheets and strategy. Alex, the golden child, had always coasted on charm and big ideas. He'd blown through his initial share on failed ventures, a food truck that went belly up, a clothing line that never launched. So, I'd stepped in, dipping into the trust to fund his latest whims, a sleek Tesla that cost $8,000 a month in payments, and his revolutionary fintech startup that promised to disrupt banking but mostly disrupted our finances. Mike, his shadow, was always there, hyping it up. They'd turn family dinners at my Victorian home into pitch sessions, Alex flashing mock-ups on his phone while Mike nodded enthusiastically, his eyes calculating. Mom, Eleanor Carter, adored Alex. "He's got your father's spirit," she'd say, waving off my concerns about his spending. To her, I was the steady rock, not needing praise because I had it all together. It hurt, that quiet favoritism, but I swallowed it for harmony's sake. Sarah, my younger sister at 28, was caught in the middle. She and Alex were thick as thieves, bonding over late-night texts and shared memories of Dad. She'd even invested $60,000 from her own savings into Mike's side of the startup, an app that allegedly used AI to predict stock trends. I had reservations. Mike's pitches always seemed too slick, too vague. But Sarah trusted Alex's endorsement, and I didn't push, not wanting to drive a wedge. The trust fund was the invisible thread binding us. Dad's instructions were clear. I managed distributions to ensure long-term security. I'd paid for Sarah's MBA at Stanford, covered Mom's condo fees in Marin County, and yes, bankrolled Alex's lifestyle. His Tesla gleamed in my driveway during visits, a symbol of his success that I quietly financed. But gratitude? Rare. Instead, Alex would needle me at gatherings, joking about my boring book club or my preference for quiet evenings over his wild parties. Mike amplified it, chuckling like a hyena, turning every quip into a group roast. Mom would smile indulgently, changing the subject to Alex's latest breakthrough. Sarah laughed along sometimes, but I saw the unease in her eyes. Tensions simmered beneath the surface. Last Thanksgiving, at Mom's place overlooking the Golden Gate, Alex had cornered me in the kitchen. You gotta loosen the purse strings, he'd said, his breath smelling of bourbon. This startup needs another infusion, think of the returns. Mike hovered nearby, smirking. I refused, citing Dad's rules about sustainable growth. Alex stormed off, muttering about me being a control freak. Mom called later, her voice soft. He's just ambitious. Dear. Maybe give him a little more. It was always like that, me the villain for enforcing boundaries. What gnawed at me was the pattern. Alex's entitlement, Mike's enabling, Mom's bias, Sarah's loyalty blinding her. I'd kept the peace, managed the money, played the role of the dutiful sister. But that envelope changed everything. As the party wound down that night, guests trickling out with leftover cake, I retreated to my home office. The room was my sanctuary, walls lined with financial tomes, a large oak desk cluttered with reports. I powered up my computer, the screen's blue light casting stark shadows. This wasn't impulsive anger, it was calculated resolve. First, the finances. Alex's Tesla lease was linked to a trust account I controlled, a temporary setup I'd agreed to years ago. With a few clicks, I accessed the portal, navigated to payments, and hit cancel. Confirmation email sent. Repossession imminent. Next, the startup transfers $15,000 monthly to keep his developers coding. Stopped. Investors would notice the drought soon. Satisfaction bloomed in my chest, slow and warm, like the first sip of strong coffee. But I needed more than financial jabs. I dialed my attorney, Rebecca Klein, a shark in family law circles. It was late, but she answered on the second ring. Emily, what's up? I recounted the party, the card, the laughter, emphasizing Mike's video, which I'd already snagged from a shared group chat. This is emotional abuse. Public defamation, I said, my voice steady. Use it to solidify my control over the trust. Rebecca hummed thoughtfully. Send me the footage. We'll build a case showing his intent to alienate you, making him unfit for distributions. We hung up, and I forwarded the file, watching the upload bar fill. Then, Mike. His constant presence, his shady vibe. I'd always suspected the startup was smoke and mirrors. I called a PI I'd used before for due diligence on investments, a no-nonsense guy named Vince. Vince, dig into Mike Harlan, I instructed. Focus on the fintech app. Any ties to Sarah's investment. I provided details, company name, bank info. Rush job, I added. He promised prelims in 48 hours. As I leaned back, the house quiet except for the distant hum of city traffic, I felt the tension coiling tighter. They'd humiliated me, thinking I'd fold. But I was done being the family's ATM and punchline. Alex's world was about to tilt, and I held the lever. The morning after the party dawned crisp and unforgiving, the San Francisco sun piercing through my curtains like an accusation. I sip my black coffee at the kitchen island, scrolling through notifications. The first blow landed, a frantic text from Alex at 7:45 a.m. What the hell? Inc. Dealership says payments bounced. Fix this now. I ignored it, letting the silence speak. By 9, voicemails piled up, his voice escalating from confused to furious. The Tesla repo notice had hit his inbox, detailing towing procedures if unresolved. His startup's auto transfers failed too. An email from his lead developer popped into my shared oversight account, demanding clarity on delayed funds. Investors were circling, whispers of instability spreading via LinkedIn messages I'd glimpsed. No remorse stirred in me. Alex had paraded his success for years, all on my dime, while treating me like an outsider. That card wasn't a joke, it was a manifesto of his resentment. Around noon, my phone buzzed again, Mom. Emily. Darling, Alex is in a state. Something about his car? And the business. Her tone was laced with that familiar plea, the one that always positioned me as the fixer. I took a breath, staring out at the bay view from my window. He crossed a line last night.
Mom.
I'm done enabling him.
She sighed,
heavy with disappointment. It was just a prank. Sweetie. Families tease. Don't let this tear us apart. Her words stung, echoing her lifelong bias. Alex the dreamer. Me the duty-bound. Tease? It was humiliation, I replied, my voice edging sharper. And the trust is for security, not his ego trips. She paused. Then softly, think about your brother.
Click.
The call ended, her favoritism hanging in the air like fog. I set the phone down, resolve hardening. She wouldn't sway me this time. By afternoon, the doorbell chimed insistently. I opened it to Alex, disheveled in yesterday's clothes, eyes bloodshot. He barged in, pacing my living room like a caged animal. You cut everything off. The Tesla's getting repoed. Devs are quitting. Investors bailing. Over a stupid card? His voice cracked, a mix of rage and desperation. I stood firm, arms crossed. That stupid card said I'm not family. You planned it, had Mike film it for laughs. He ran a hand through his hair, stopping mid-stride. It was a joke. Everyone laughed, even Mom. Especially Mom. I shot back, the hurt bubbling up slow. You've leeched off me for years. Alex. Tesla. Start up all my money. No thanks. Just mockery. He deflated slightly, slumping onto the couch. I need that cash.
Eminência.
Without it, I'm screwed. His plea hung there, vulnerable for once. But I saw the manipulation, the same charm that had Mom wrapped around his finger. Figure it out yourself, I said, gesturing to the door. He stood, face twisting. You're destroying me. No, I replied calmly. You did that. He left, slamming the door, the echo reverberating through the house. Alone again. I returned to my office. Rebecca had emailed, preliminary filings ready, using the video as Exhibit A to argue emotional duress and unfitness. Court could freeze his access entirely, she noted.
Good.
Vince called next, his gravelly voice efficient. Mic's up? Phantom. No real code. Just vaporware demos. Sarah's $60K went straight to his personal accounts, yacht rentals in Miami. Luxury suits. Texts show Alex knew. Pushed her to invest for family unity. Proof attached, screenshots. Transfers, emails. Vindication washed over me, dousing the lingering doubt. Mike wasn't just an enabler, he was a con artist. And Alex complicit. I arranged to meet Sarah at a cozy cafe in the Mission District. The aroma of fresh pastries a stark contrast to the bombshell I carried. She arrived, looking harried from her marketing job, sliding into the booth with a weak smile. "What's so urgent?" I handed her Vince's report, my tone gentle but firm. "Mike scammed you. The app's fake. Your money funded his Playboy life." Alex knew. She scanned the pages, color draining from her face. Bank statements showed transfers to high-end vendors. Messages between Alex and Mike joked about easy marks. Her hands trembled. They lied to me. Tears welled. But anger followed, sharp and building. Alex pushed me into it, said it was foolproof. I nodded, letting her process. "We can sue, recover what we can." By the time we parted, Sarah's resolve matched mine. She'd confront them, cut ties. The ripple effects hit fast. Sarah texted Alex that evening, unleashing a tirade about betrayal. His responses, forwarded to me, were defensive. Mike fooled me too. But the damage was done. His circle fractured. Friends who'd nibbled at the startup pulled back. Whispers of fraud circulating. Mike ghosted. His phone disconnected. Mom got involved, summoning Alex to her condo for a talk. Sarah filled me in later. Mom grilled him on the scam, her voice rising for the first time. "How could you drag your sister into this?" Alex stammered excuses. But Mom's faith cracked. She called me after, voice weary. "I didn't see it. Emily. I'm sorry." A small victory. But the coil tightened, justice nearing. Over the following weeks, the plan accelerated. Rebecca filed the petition in San Francisco's Superior Court, seeking to bar Alex from future trust claims. The video was key, filed as evidence of intent to harm, bolstered by financial records showing his mismanagement. "He's a liability," Rebecca argued in drafts. Vince's report went to Sarah's lawyer for a separate fraud suit against Mike, with Alex named as accessory. Subpoenas loomed. Alex's life unraveled visibly. The Tesla was towed from his loft parking spot, neighbors gawking. Startup offices shuttered, employees scattering with unpaid checks. He crashed on friends' couches, but doors closed as the scam news spread. One evening, he showed up at my door again, subdued, begging for reinstatement. "Please. I'm losing everything." His eyes pleaded, but I saw the entitlement linger. "Earn it back," I said, closing the door softly. Inside, the pressure built, slow damming of a river, ready to burst. 2 months in, the courtroom loomed like a storm cloud over the bay. Rebecca had built an ironclad case, depositions from Sarah detailing the scam, financial audits exposing Alex's waste, and that damning video looped in mock trials. "It shows malice," she said during our prep sessions in her sleek downtown office. Alex's lawyer, a harried associate named Greg, pushed for mediation, sensing the tide against them. We agreed to a neutral conference room in a high-rise. The city sprawled below, a reminder of what was at stake. I arrived early, dressed in a sharp blazer, heart pounding but steady. Sarah sat beside me, her support a quiet anchor. Mom entered next, looking frail, caught between loyalties. Alex slouched in last, shadowed by Greg. His once polished look faded, rumpled shirt, dark circles. The air thickened with unspoken accusations. Rebecca started, projecting the video on a screen. My frozen shock, the laughter, Alex's smirk. "This isn't sibling rivalry," she declared. "It's targeted alienation, breaching the trust's unity clause." Greg countered weakly, claiming harmless fun, but Rebecca pivoted to the finances, ledgers showing $200,000 plus funneled to Alex's failures. 0 returns. Then, the bomb, Vince's report on Mike's fraud. "Alex facilitated a scam on his own sister," Rebecca said, sliding copies across. Gasps rippled, Mom's hand to her chest. Sarah's glare boring into Alex. He shifted, mumbling. I didn't know the extent.
Lies.
Texts proved otherwise. Greg whispered urgently. Alex's face crumpled. I spoke then. Voice calm, but laced with built-up emotion. You've taken for years. Alex mocked me while spending Dad's legacy. This ends. Mom interjected, tearful. Can't we settle as family? But Sarah shook her head. Not after the betrayal. Pressure mounted. Greg advised concession. Alex signed the waiver. Forfeiting claims, millions secured under my sole control. He left defeated. Mom trailing. Her world shifted. Relief flooded me. But the emotional dam held. Waiting. Post-mediation. Fallout cascaded. Alex moved into Mom's condo, bunking in the guest room like a wayward teen. The Tesla sold at auction, debts mounted from startup loans in his name. He landed a barista gig at a chain coffee shop, steaming lattes for tech bros who'd once courted him. Mike faced charges, Sarah's suit stuck, recovering $30,000 via asset seizure. He fled to Vegas, cutting Alex off. Old friends vanished. Scandals too toxic. Mom's regret deepened. Dinners became tense. Her questions probing Alex's choices. I enabled too much, she confessed to me one night over tea. Sarah and I bonded deeper. She joined my firm as a consultant. Trust investments thriving under joint oversight. My analyst career soared. A promotion came with oversight of major portfolios. Freedom tasted sweet. The slow build of years releasing in quiet triumph. Yet, echoes lingered. One foggy afternoon, I spotted Alex at a waterfront cafe during a client lunch. He served tables nearby, apron stained, eyes downcast. Our gazes met. He froze, shame flushing his cheeks. He mumbled an excuse to his manager and slipped out back. That moment crystallized it. His empire of entitlement crumbled. Mine rebuilt on resilience. But as I drove home, the city lights blurring, a question nagged. Had justice healed? Or just scarred deeper? 6 months post-confrontation, the dust settled into a new normal. But undercurrents of change rippled through our lives. Alex's barista shifts dragged on, the aroma of espresso a far cry from his startup boardrooms. Customers tipped poorly, and whispers followed him, former acquaintances averting eyes. Mom's condo, once a haven, tensed with his presence. Arguments flared over chores. Bills. You need to step up, she'd say, her voice firmer than before. Her awakening was slow but profound. Therapy sessions we attended together unpacked her favoritism, roots in Dad's absence. I projected onto him, she admitted, tears flowing. Sarah thrived. Her recovered funds seeded a personal venture in digital marketing. Our weekly brunches became strategy sessions, laughter genuine now, unshadowed by Alex's drama. My days filled with purpose, client meetings in glass towers, evenings with books or jazz clubs, no longer burdened by family drains. The trust grew under prudent investments, securing futures without favoritism. But closure demanded one more thread. Vince updated, Mike arrested in Nevada for similar scams. Facing prison. Alex's name surfaced in testimony, complicity noted but not charged. A shadow on his record. He called me once, voice broken. Can we talk? I met him at a neutral park bench overlooking the ocean, waves crashing like unresolved anger. He looked gaunt, apologetic. I was wrong, jealous, entitled. That card. Stupid. Emotions dammed for months threatened to burst. It wasn't just the card, I said, voice rising. Years of taking, mocking while I held us up. He nodded. tears streaking. Lost everything, friends. Dreams. Mom's disappointed. The confession hung. Vulnerability cracking his facade. Forgiveness? Not yet. Earn it, I replied.
Standing.
As I walked away, the pressure released a cathartic exhale, the bung no of held-back truth. A year later, reflections sharpened the narrative. Alex clawed back modestly, a promotion to shift manager. Therapy aiding self-awareness. Mom's home warmed again. Boundaries set. Sarah's business boomed. Our alliance unbreakable. I traveled solo trips to Napa Vineyards, savoring independence. Yet, the scar remained. Family bonds, fragile, demand mutual respect. Betrayal's sting fades, but the lesson endures. What price entitlement? In quiet moments, I pondered, was revenge justice, or merely a mirror of their cruelty? The question lingers, a moral echo in the fog.